Okay, thank you very much. I think we all should pay attention because majority of us are students and we all envision a career we want to pursue or we are already pursuing it to some certain extent. So we should all pay attention to what we'll be discussing here today. Okay, good evening once again, my panelists. Okay, I'm going to start with this question. We talked about the academic section, and I noticed personally that these days most people flee from the academic section. Most do not want to select it as a career choice because of the fact that probably when we were in secondary school, our teachers did not have cars, or even when we are in university, some of our lecturers do not have cars, and we want to make money as young change makers and as someone that is interested in the academics and wants to make money at the same time. What is your suggestion?
When I was saying it the other time that many of us, uh, we see teaching as some, in fact, it is a common saying in Nigeria because not elsewhere. To the glory of God, at least I've traveled out and I discover and I know what teachers earn over there. But in Nigeria, generally, we believe that the reward of a teacher is in heaven. I often say, I often say that the reward of a teacher will be on earth and also in heaven. What if a teacher fails to make heaven? That means the reward of that teacher will not come. Now, that is just by the way. Now, I just want us to understand that something must drive us, and which is passion, which we have said, and I started by telling us how I eventually, become a teacher, from teaching, because I love calling it teaching. That lecturing is just a matter of semantics. Now, but I love saying it teaching. When I say teaching or teacher, I'm referring to lecturer that you people use, to call them or to call us. Now, I discovered that that person must be there. Not only that, don't forget that we're talking about change makers. So that is the key words. You must be ready to sacrifice yourself for others. That makes you a change maker. So when these people came in 2014 to 2015, clamoring for change, Nigeria failed then to ask them what kind of change they are bringing. Now, a lot of change can happen, but when you're talking about teachers or a lecturing profession, it is something that everybody should have interest in. As a mother, you are a teacher. In social study, they will tell you that education actually begins from what? Home. So as a mother, as parents at home, we are all teachers, but they have left that duty to the teachers now, the lecturers. There are some students or there are some pupils that are not actually amendable. They have been corrupted right from home. They will not push them down and want the teachers to mold them. So that is so we must be able to have that passion and sacrifice in us so that at least be able to carry on with that stuff. Because when you're talking about teaching, it's all encompassing. It's all encompassing. So as a lecturer, I'll be in my office, I try to look at my students, how best they can perform. That is the sacrifice we're talking about. Maybe other panelists will also say one or two things on that. But let me just pause on this. If there's another thing I can actually add to it. Thank you.
Coach Faith, sir.
All right, thank you. I want to appreciate everyone for the opportunity to be here and for the fact that we still have a few people who are still around at this time to listen to us. And I can assure you that success is predictable. Success in life is predictable. And yes, in 1920, there was a longitudinal research that was done in Harvard about what important factor is responsible for success. And it's not discovering your purpose, is not discovering, is not coming from a wonderful family, is the number of sacrifice you can make, the number of, the extent to which you can sacrifice to be at the right place, connect to the right people, pay for the right prices, and all of that. These are the factors that can, that's preface to success. So I want to appreciate you for being here. So please clap for yourself, everybody. God bless you. Now, yeah, to your question, Ma, and I want to vary from my doctor a little. I'm excited that you are passionate about what you do. And in fact, maybe that's why your dean recognized you, your former dean and the DVC now recognize that you are passionate about it and wants to represent him here. I'm sure there are so many other lecturers in that faculty that he could have not appointed to be here. Let me assure you, Ma, and everyone here, that when life starts to happen to you in a few months' time, especially as graduates, you would understand that it's not just about what you like to do, all right? I did a master's program in personnel psychology in UI, and my research project was around, the topic of my research project was the relationship between increasing postgraduate enrollment and unemployment. And we realized by statistical analysis that as unemployment increases, postgraduate employment increases. Now, it goes to say, as a graduate, most of you graduate without skills, without entrepreneurial skills. No, you studied political science, you studied economics, you studied microbiology. All you did was theory. There was never a time that anybody sat you down to educate you about the career implications of your study, of your study. So you realize that in the next few months, for example, when you graduate and job is not forthcoming, your mother will tell you, go and do masters. And you find yourself doing masters because you had a 2-1. You graduate with a PhD grade in masters, and you want to go and do your PhD again. And I can assure you that that is how most academics in our own generation find themselves in a classroom. After a Greek, the biggest employer of labor in Nigeria now is educational sector, because you have increasing university every day and all other forms of tertiary education, and schools are rising, population is rising, and all that. Now, as much as you have more schools, you have more platform for teachers. And so it gets to a time that it's not because you want to become a teacher. It's because there is no other job elsewhere, and the only job that is available is to teach in a secondary school, because there's demand there. To teach in a university, because you already have a master's and you come in as an assistant lecturer, and before you know it, to do a PhD, but the passion like he had is not there. So that's why you find so many of them, so many lecturers in the system who would not give the best to educating. It's one thing to lecture, it's another thing to mentor. What we lack in schools these days, in universities these days, is mentorship. There are so many brilliant students, but mentorship would come in the place where someone sits you down and walks over your life and say, I have discovered something in you. This is the way you should go. You are studying political science, but I think you have analytical skills. Go and study something around this place, run analysis and all that. That is mentoring. You're studying theater arts, but then you're not supposed to act. Go to production. Go into writing scripts and all of that. So that's where, so, sir, ma, you would eventually find yourself maybe going for your master's. And in a few months' time, you find yourself in full year applying for assistant lecturer. Not because you really want to become a lecturer, but because you already have a master's. Because what's your course? History. Because there's no company to collect you from your school, and you find yourself applying to be a teacher. That is the reality of 21st century.
Okay. My mic now. Thankfully, I've listened to them, and I'm still in my head going through that question. Let me divert a lot, not just a little, from what they have said. The question I heard from my mommy, my name is Emmanuel, she's Mary, so those who get it, get it. Yes. The question I heard was, there's no money. We see our lecturers, our teachers without cars. I don't drive a car today. What's the drive? What would make people want to get into that? Something like that, right? Now, let me say this. In addition to all the things we have heard from earlier today till now, in addition to the issues about passion and all, I came with a mindset to use DANI as an acronym. I'll use the first letter, D. Delineate your priorities. I used to teach. You can make your money. Hello? You can make money in teaching. You'll most likely land in teaching, like you said. Good for you. I didn't plan to get into teaching. I got into it by chance. I liked it. I am not teaching today. I still hope to teach tomorrow. Now, I used to teach in a primary school. 1997, January, I started working in a primary school. Everybody's looking at me like, how old was I then? No, Pauline. Now, in that primary school, I did international school, Funtua. Within a space of 6 months, primary school, private school, not the one that pays the highest, but I was comfortable enough to be sponsoring the entire family. Why? Because, quote and unquote, I was good at what I was doing. Almost everybody wanted a lesson for their children. I was declining lessons. I was assigning lessons to people. Like you, okay, you stay around this area. These people want to do lesson for their children. You go and do. End of the month, they'll come, thank you, they have paid me. You can make money as a teacher. After that, I began to teach in a secondary school, FGC Shagamu, 2008. I was not a full-time staff. The federal government did not employ me. I was a PTA teacher. But I was loaning money to people who were employed by the federal government. I was being paid like 8,000, 6,000, 8,000 then. They were being paid like 30-something thousand. I was loaning them money, not because I was stealing money. There was nowhere to steal money. I was not tasting government money. But again, okay, first classes I was supposed to teach GS2. Within one term, they moved me to SS3, SS2, SS3. And people will come around, is Mr. Emmanuel I want to teach me? I want him to. Again, I was declining lessons. I'll be like, no. And I began to give them prices that were not heard of before. And they were still paying. There are people who still, in fact, a woman who was a banker, she was a bank manager, she was like, when my daughter finishes, I want you to come and work in the bank so that your life will be better. I said, no. So you can make your money in teaching if you're good at what you do. If you're good at what you do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you
Moderator,
very
please.
much.
Sorry, I just want to buttress and to say some things on what we have had. You know, making money in teaching is a question of personal priority. We should not, please, understand the key words. Change makers in academics and nation building. If it is on a business trade that you are talking about, fine, we can do that. But when you want to sacrifice for others, money will not be your priority. It is the joy of what you are doing or how people receive you that will be your priority. I think we need to get that. Now, secondly, on the issue of people who enter into academics by accident, of course. But again, if they enter into that system and they understand what the system is all about, they should adjust their way. I have seen someone who had wanted to work in bank and now is also a colleague, in the department, and he's doing well in terms of, because he quickly realign himself towards that. So, if money is your priority for picking academic career, please, you have missed it in the first instance. That should not be your priority because academics is totally different from other professions. Now, because that's why some countries, they actually prioritize education, health, and security. Now, for example, in Nigeria today, any money that the security architecture says they actually wanted to have, or security agency, the government will give to them, because that is what it has been prioritized. Education also needs to be prioritized. Instead of we talking about the money, if, for example, the government is actually funding or taking care of us as teachers, why not? So, in fact, when teachers were not riding cars or nobody, because I already have it in mind that this is what I want to do. And I know with time, I will definitely have car. So, the question now is our personal view towards academics or towards education. So, when we have that view, he has said it, that there are some people who actually, entered the profession by accident. Of course, they will adjust. And that is why you see some people dipping their hands into all manners in academics. I'm sorry to say this, because the priority is not set ab initio. So when they now get into that, they'll say, no, this one is peanut, I cannot. Then they will want to be what? Doing sorting, collecting money from students or sleeping with students. That is, those ones, we definitely have Judas out of 12. In fact, in academics today, we may even have 6 Judas or 6 Judases, if you allow me to use that concept. But of course, there are still people who are passionate about this. Now, I have a student who graduated in 2014, and I asked him, and he made first class. I asked him to come and join academics. The guy asked me, how much is assistant lecturer salary? I told him, he said, God forbid, that he cannot come. Now, the guy is working with PwC, and his salary is about 500 plus. I now told him, I said, in fact, your salary is times 3 of what I earn, so you can't come here. Then he already knows that he cannot teach because the money is the priority. What I'm trying to say to us this evening is that when you want to join academics or you want to pick it as career, please, money should not be our priority. It is the joy you derive in it. And at the end of the day, that money will come. Because students, I have seen students who have paid for my traveling ticket. My former student, who paid. He just saw me that, we were together at the airport, and he said, no, I will not allow you to go. And he looked at the ticket and he paid.
Okay,
he sent it to my account.
Much,
so please, money should not be our priority. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. I got from what they've all said now that as change makers, money should not be our priority. The money will come when we invest in our passion, but money should not be the priority. Okay, thank you. To my next question, often nowadays, we notice that as students, we pass through the university or the tertiary level, but the university has not passed through us. We will find that at the beginning of each semester, just pick 5 students randomly and ask them, what were you taught last semester? And listen to what they will say. And I remember clearly, I went to a government secondary school, and sometimes you have some couples, they will talk, how we look at them, wow, did these people even go to school at all? So what happened along the line? And eventually these people emerge as, they have been fixed sometimes in the academic sector and sometimes in other sectors. What happens to students and what happens to the future of Nigeria if the current students are not fully in the system or the system is not fully in them? I don't know if you get my analogy. Please be very brief about it, sir.
I'll be brief about this. One thing that is lacking, and I know other panelists will also add to it, one thing I discover is mentorship. When you lack mentor, I do say that when a place is not known, everywhere will look like it. Now, when you lack mentor, definitely you will have that. When I was in school, apparently Professor Motola was also our president then at the department, Political Science University of Ilorin. He was the president then. That was when he started mentoring. In fact, he is my mentor, irrespective of how we are today. So we need to have a that can actually give us the tip on how to excel. Some people are just like my brother have said, by accident.
Sorry, can I add to that question?
Okay.
I think one of the reasons is because in schools nowadays, we focus more on the theory aspect. We are not exposed to the practical aspect. For example, I study history. When I graduate, how many people will sit me down and ask me what is the history of Ekiti? Is that what is going to sustain me? So what do we do when we've been taught the theory aspect to write the full exam sheet and not the practical aspects?
I think, apologies if I may say this. I think the curriculum, well, let me speak of my department, political science department. The curriculum is designed in such a way that the theoretical and the practical aspect will be taught. That is it. Now, you may now be wondering, how would that practical aspect be taught? For example, if I ask students, maybe during an election now, and I was okay, I want a democratic setting, okay, just maybe they want to vote for class governor. I will not just come and say, you be the class governor as a lecturer. So the practical aspect may start from there. Not only that, even through excursion, some of our students have gone to National Assembly, see what they do, because everything is all about community development. So we have to also teach them on all this. So it's all about both, because, and I want to believe also, even in your department, the theoretical and the practical aspect will be there. It's just that you have not been able to discover what the practical aspect is. The history of Ekiti, you may not learn in a class, but as student of history, you should know it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Coach Fetsa.
All right, thank you. Let me address it from two angles. There are external and internal, or what I will call outside you, and that's what he has talked about. Outside you're talking about students. Outside the student, there are factors. The government factor is there. He talked about government pumping in money to military demands lately and forgetting about education. That's one factor that you can't run away from. So the government has not been funding schools well. You can't take that away from Nigeria. But then you see, I also want, more importantly, beyond the curriculum, beyond government, beyond any other factor, I want to talk about the internal factor, the students themselves. You see, there is misplaced priority. I know what this auditorium will look like if this was Shana Wale. I know what this, see, just look at these posters. You will see some wonderful artists that will be coming to Foye to come and storm Foye. But you have a mentee of Miles Moreau in this house, in this university. Someone who Miles Moreau has poured his life into and is coming to impact this university, and we have less. That's why I say success is predictable. It's predictable. If you gather 100 people together, you can investigate how many will succeed in their lives. Now, look at the auditorium. Now, we have misplaced priority among students. You can't take that away. See, and you like it or not, you are going to graduate from Aruna University. You are going to compete with people from Harvard University. And they are coming in droves. Because there's no job in the US too. And Nigerians somehow are getting money to travel out, to study in Asia, to study in the US, to study in Asia. And they will come back to Nigeria to come and compete with you that finished in 4 years. You will not, sometimes ago I was in Obakran in Lagos. I was in NIT. If you stay on NIT, you'll be looking inside, you'll be looking at Nigerite company. And there was a fight in Nigerite company. It was, people were running all over the place. But outside, people would not know. But because we were elevated, we could see inside the auditorium. And what happened? We got to know later in the evening that the management advertised and there was an interview. And they said, if you have a foreign certificate, come to this side. If you have a Nigerian certificate, come to this side. And they interviewed the foreign certificate. They're going to employ like 50 people. 50 people. And they already employed 40 people with foreign certificates. And just maybe 10 first-class students with Nigerian certificates. That's the reality of your generation. You are going to graduate. When you apply for a job, you will see guys that are bringing certificates from South Africa, from Kenya, from Asia, from America, from Europe. So it doesn't matter what happened in school. You have to understand that because you are a Nigerian, life has won you 1-0. Because you are a Nigerian, you're already deficient. Like, there is that deficiency syndrome. So you have to find a way. You have to find a way to strategically position yourself against the reality that's about to hit you. And that's taking out your time. You are studying political science. Let me give you an idea. I have a friend who we graduated together in secondary school. He went abroad to study, and he studied sociology. And for example, I've asked myself, what do sociologists do? If you ask Nigerian students, what do you want to do with sociology? Most of you are even blank. Now, Shola finished in the US, in Boston University in the US, came back to Nigeria, and started a company. Do you know what his company does? They do for organizations, they do sociological analysis of the environment you want to establish your company in. And in Nigeria, he's about the only one that I know now that is prominent. He's running a multi-millionaire company now that does that kind of analysis. So, for example, companies from abroad, you want to come and establish, he consulted for Twitter. Let me give you this story. He consulted for Twitter. It was the one that disrecommended, if there's any English like that. It was his company that disrecommended Nigeria for Twitter, and they had to look for Ghana. So now that's someone that studied. So he applied his scholarship to something practical. But you do understand that as Nigerian students, there is nothing like that in our curriculum. So the reality is the schools have failed us. The country has failed us. The system has failed us. But you have to understand that there is something you can still do. One of my teachers will say, there is something you can still do to position yourself in such a way that you are employable. I have a problem with, I understand unemployment is prominent, like unemployment, but we rarely talk about unemployability. We rarely talk about unemployability. I was privileged to be in an interview today in Foyer. They were interviewing people who will come on board as tutors, as trainers, and the minimum requirement is O level. We have master students that applied. You would interact with master students, you would be ashamed. Who awarded you a master's degree? That's the reality. People just go through the system, they pass, they read them and pass, but it's not going through them. But then you have to realize, all of you under the sound of my voice, that as a Nigerian graduate, you already have problem. So what can you do? Like he said, to identify your passion, your purpose, and go in that line. There are so many online courses, so many free courses online. All some of us do online is follow the band, Omomi Ronaldo, Omomi Chelsea, Omomi, and all those funny things. You retweet all the, but there are so many things, so many online courses you can use your data to do, but you won't go that way. And so many of those courses are very valuable. In fact, you will come to realize that in the end of it all, you realize that you will get more from some of those short courses than even what you would do in your 4 years of scholarship in school. So please be intentional about yourself.
Okay,
God bless
thank you, sir. Mr. Emmanuel, what do you have to say about that? On a closing note, sir.
Education today in this climate is a joke. Hello? I need education. And I'm sure he is an educator. In this climate is a joke. Let's not lie to ourselves. It does not mean you should become a joker. Are we together? That it is a joke does not mean you should become a joker. I got to the point in my life where I told myself, the first priority, like he said at the point, I just smiled when he said it, is yourself. And I changed my email to just lead yourself. Like, lead yourself first. So, the schools are failing us. School does not seem to be passing through us. We do a semester per semester system. You take courses this semester, they don't reflect next semester, so you forget la cram, la pour, la forget, la get A1, la get away, la graduate, thank you. But we don't need to make ourselves jokers. In the same system, I have met people who will discuss things with me that I'm like, whoa, you are really going through school, in this same school. People tell me it's a glorified secondary school. It may look that way, but you still have people who matter within the system. Somebody told me once that this place is like mud, like Kotokoto. You just come. If you don't take care, you can slip and fall. And I told him, inside the mud, the lily actually grows. So define yourself, please. Don't complain about the system. No system is perfect. There are people in the US who want to run away from the US. There are people who will tell you, I spent 25 years in Canada, I want to come back to Nigeria. And you're like, are you well? Like, are you well? But and they're like, they want to come back. So it's not like that place is absolutely better in every regard. It might be better in many regards, but not in every regard. But wherever you are, even in the desert, the cactus will still grow and actually have water in it, inside the desert. So it's about you, yourself, your life. You have picked a course, or a course was given to you. You are studying that. Develop yourself within that. If you want to change your course, go ahead. If you have a plan to do this and that, begin to. He has talked about online courses. Beautiful. Beautiful. In addition to that, the first thing is to change your thinking. Change your thinking. You might not be able to change anybody's thinking. You might not be able to change that lecturer's thinking. He comes to class, he just talks to himself, and he goes. Every lecture is a test, and now what for him? In fact, you will just change the time of the lecture to one. You can't change him. Don't complain about what you cannot change. Change your own thinking. Change your own self. Change your own timing. Develop yourself. Beyond the courses, beyond the lectures you have to do, and ensure there is some form of retention within you. And I bet you, like you said, success is predictable. 10 years from now, I'll be seeing you somewhere better.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. And I will close on these notes. When your background has put your back on the ground, please don't stay on the ground.
Before you close, you repeat it. You repeat that background. God bless you. Sir, let me just advise for those of you that I hope with sir, when I say it, if it's correct, just nod. If it's not correct, pinch me. All right, for those of you that want to go into academics by whatever chance, by circumstance or by happenstance, I want to advise you that please try and be consistent. This is a problem that some of you don't have. I mean, that some of you will likely have, and some of us learned it in a very bitter way. What I mean by being consistent is, please, if you are doing sociology now and you are dreaming to be in academics, go and do your MSc in sociology. All right? If you are studying history and international relations, sir, let me bust your mind. A professor in Yoruba technology and a professor in medical neurotechnology, they collect the same salary. It is the exposure and the opportunity that differs. So, as an academic, please try as much as possible. We have had very brilliant minds who try to apply for opportunities. You have someone who studied mathematics in undergraduate and went ahead to study project management, MSc project management. Very wonderful. Ocheton project management, PhD civil engineering, sir. You understand? So please try and be consistent. Every opportunity will come, but please build your.
In academics, we call that amalgamated certificates. When I think it's a good, fantastic point. If only you want to come into academics, as far as Nigeria is concerned, of today, this Nigeria, I know of, because in Asia, they are not interested. They are interested in your skill. What you can do, to actually, but in Nigeria, it is certificate they are looking for. If you have BSc Sociology and you want to lecture, please go for your MSc Sociology. In fact, not even MSc Social Work or Industrial Relations. No. You must go to that, and of course, your PhD should also be in that. If not, you will not have any area of specialization. If eventually you are even have opportunity to lecture. So please, I want us to look at that career path and follow it with all sense of responsibility. And I pray that the Almighty God will assist you in Jesus' name.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, our panelists.